Hi everyone and welcome to the Jeff Bullis Show. Today I have with me Boris Pfieffer. Now, we were supposed to have Mike Hawkins with us as well, but as we know in the world of technology, sometimes things don't work, and Mike is battling getting connected to the internet, and because of the current situation, there are no alternate places to use because there's something happened last year that sort of changed the world for a while. So welcome to the show, Boris. It's an absolute pleasure. We were going to have three of us, but great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. We'll manage without Mike somehow. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we might zoom him in at another time, but it's fine. So, a little bit about... Boris is a quiz creator. He's done an online gaming, and he's currently in Germany. And I'm currently in Sydney. And he's been doing this for a long time and has been bought out by a variety of companies as he's created games and quiz platforms. And we're going to have a little chat about that and how you can use gaming and quiz platforms to be lead generators and a bunch of other things I'm sure we'll discover along the way, because this is Boris's expertise, it's not mine. But I have, just to let, and I've told Boris already, I have used quiz interactive marketing platforms in the past to do lead generation, and we actually created a what sort of marketer are you? We created 4 different profiles, and we did generate a lot of email leads from that. So I do have a little bit of understanding, but nothing like Boris has. So we're going to dive into a little bit about some of the journey of being an entrepreneur in a digital world, which is been sort of last 20 years. It's been interesting to watch how this has evolved because entrepreneurship involves technology now a lot more, and digital platforms and a whole bunch of different things. So, Boris, one big question I have in the back of my mind here before we leap into the stories and everything else is, what got you into the whole online gaming quiz creation? And you started this in about 2003, 2004, and Facebook, I don't think it had even been started then. I think MySpace might have started and the star was rising and about to fall. So what led you into this industry? I'm intrigued.
So personally, I think I've always been connected to the online industry. Back when the first browsers came out is when I started my first company building websites. When Mozilla came out. So always been very, very much focused on the online industry. What got us into the first big quiz platform, which was called Tickle, Tickle.com, was the founders were Harvard graduates. And at the end of their Harvard studies, they took the Myers-Briggs test on paper. And they thought it was crazy that, here they are in, the dot-com boom, and a university like Harvard lets you take a test on paper. So they started a high-end test-taking company, hiring psychologists and creating very sophisticated tests that no one was interested in, it turned out. It was just them. So the company was about to shut down when they tried something different, and they created a test called "What Dog Are You?" And that turned out to be such a massive hit that Tickle became the 28th biggest website in the world. And back then, when I worked there, no one knew the name Tickle, but you could talk to random people and they knew what dog they were because they've taken the test. So everybody says, I'm a golden retriever, a German shepherd. And, it was such a wonderful test matching dogs to personalities.
Right.
And from there on, we became a massive test platform. And eventually the high-end tests like the IQ tests and other personality tests started working as well. But at the core of it was a fun, test-taking platform that we built. And personally, I've always enjoyed taking tests. I mean, they've been around long before the internet. You could pick up any old magazine and it would have a test in it.
Yep.
Which rock star would you be in this band, or, what color matches your style? they've always been around, and we just took them online.
Okay. So that begs the next question. What sort of dog are you?
I'm a golden retriever, but because I know all the answers and I like golden retrievers, I don't think I can take that test without cheating.
Well, I might have to take that test. I don't know what I am. I wouldn't mind betting that I'm maybe a golden retriever or maybe a lap dog. I'm not quite sure, of some variety.
We got that. Actually, I rebuilt that test on my current company's website, Riddle.com. You can download it as a free template into your account and see how it's constructed, and then cheat yourself.
Well, the best thing, well, if the one thing we get out of this conversation is people can actually work out what sort of dog they are, which should be fabulous, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a very shareable result. People love it.
Oh, you got me thinking already. So Tickle.com. So it became the 28th biggest website in the world. That's pretty awesome. You must be quite proud of that in terms of your contribution to that result.
It was fun. We managed to make it really big in Europe, which was much harder than you'd think. Even though we started with the UK as our first market and then Germany, you couldn't translate the tests. It just wouldn't work. We had to hire local psychologists in England to help us rewrite, even the fun ones, because there's things that like Americans apparently like to stick their tongue on a frozen lamppost. Brits don't do that, we found out. If you have questions like that in a test, someone in England will go say, why would you do that?
Well, even a drunk Irishman wouldn't do that?
No.
Okay.
But yeah, we successfully launched Tickle in lots of European countries, and ended up selling the company to Monster.com, the big job board, for over 100 million.
Wow.
Back then.
And Monster didn't do such a great job of making Tickle continue to grow, did it?
No, it was a typical case where there was a management team in place that loved the idea and knew how much you could do with tests and lead generation, as you said. It was actually a perfect match. If you sell job ads and you have people taking tests and you know what personality they are, you can direct them to jobs that actually fit them, even surprising jobs that they would never think would fit them.
Right.
But then management changed. Someone new came in and he wasn't from the online world. He actually came from clothes retailing and became the CEO of Monster.
Right.
And things moved in a different direction. Tickle wasn't all that, and tests weren't all that important anymore. So they eventually just let it die, unfortunately.
Okay.
But it happens often, I think, in acquisitions.
Yeah, so someone has a bright idea, someone has a bucket full of money, and an acquisition is made, and they don't have the same passion because they're not the founders,
Yep.
and that's not unusual. So you went over to Monster.com as part of that acquisition, and what happened next?
So I stayed there actually for 7 years, because what we did back then, which I thought was really interesting, it was the rise of social networks. And because we had so much traffic already on Tickle, we knew how to sell ads and monetize traffic.
Yep.
So me and my team, we managed all the up and coming social networks media inventory. So we had like High Five, Tagged, Bebo. We managed all their traffic, like 4 or 5 billion ad impressions every month. It was crazy.
Wow.
And eventually Monster decided they didn't want to do that either. So that's when I left. And got back into starting companies. The old Tickle founders, we started a company builder where we tried out, I think in the end it was 10 different companies that we funded. And one of them was a very successful game, an online game. Back then, of course, we had MySpace games as well. MySpace was still around back then. And that company got bought by Kabam. So I moved from a small gaming company into a big gaming company and set up Kabam in Europe.
Right.
And we became one of the top mobile game publishers eventually.
Okay. So tell me a bit about Kabam. So I have heard of it. It's a how big is it now?
It actually got sold for close to, I think it was over 900 million or exactly $1 billion just recently. So when I left Kabam, we were over 1,000 people.
Right.
Had lots of top 5 games in the App Store. It was an interesting journey, starting out with MySpace games. Then MySpace became obsolete, and we moved to Facebook games. And then Facebook started charging their 30% tax on all the revenue you generated from games.
Yep.
We tried to become our own portal, which didn't work out. And again, it was one guy that came up with, let's try mobile. And we had a huge, massive hit with our first mobile game. So then became a mobile game company.
Right. Yeah, it was interesting looking back, reflecting on that. I remember seeing the rise of Farmville on Facebook. Were you there about the same time?
Yeah. Yeah. We had similar games on MySpace.
Right.
And yeah, I was there when Farmville and Zynga. I know the Zynga Europe team was in an office very close to our office in Luxembourg. So we've spent a lot of time talking to them and drinking beer with them.
Okay.
They were a fun crew.
As you do in Germany, I suppose.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, Farmville, a lot of people maybe haven't even heard of it because I think Farmville sort of grew so rapidly. And then, of course, when you rely on just one platform to be your, I suppose, marketing portal, that's a very dangerous place to play, as a lot of people discovered, is that because Facebook can change the algorithm, they can change, like they said, 30% tax on gaming revenues. So you've got to be very careful of putting all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah. Well, it's when we did my current company, Riddle, we made very sure we're not relying on any platform, which was good because quizzes on Facebook used to be a really big thing.
Yep.
And then the Cambridge Analytica scandal hit. I'm not sure if everybody heard about it, but essentially it was quizzes running on Facebook, stealing people's data and selling it in a nutshell.
Right. Okay.
Supposedly without Facebook's knowledge, which is fine. I find hard to believe, but yeah. So after that, you can't run quizzes on Facebook anymore. There's no more interactive content on that platform or on Twitter or any other platform.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's
So
a lot of broken dreams, isn't there, in that sort of just that sector alone, amongst many others, that went, okay, let's do it just for Facebook, and yeah, it just blew up. So yeah.
So we tried to, from the get-go, is said, users' privacy and data privacy is super important to us, even before GDPR changed the online landscape and everything. And that has helped us a lot, I think, that we built on that foundation. That if you've asked me today, can you show me examples of live quizzes, unless I happen to find them surfing, we don't know what our customers are doing with our platform. We stay completely out of their data. We have no trackers. And we continuously warn people, for example, if you run quizzes from Playbus or whatever on your site, they run so many trackers. They literally steal all your customers' data. So that's something we never wanted to do. It's a money-making machine if you do it right, but I don't think it's a business model that's around to stay.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting, the conversations we've had recently with quite a few entrepreneurs is that GDPR and also Apple's recent announcement they're not going to give access to Facebook to collect data. And poor Mark Zuckerberg was devastated.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I think that everybody that's built a business around stealing people's data without their consent is going to be in big trouble.
Yep.
From lawmakers, from Apple, and it also people themselves. I don't know how much they care. I mean, as long as you willingly install TikTok or you know other tracking apps, essentially, you probably don't care all that much
So,
about your data being stolen.
so, so is TikTok a data stealing app, you think?
It's a data collection app. I don't know if you can call it stealing. If you install it willingly and you know that they're tracking you, what you're doing. It's essentially, you know, a little piece of spyware on your phone, if you like.
Hmm.
It knows so much about you, and it needs to know a lot about you to optimize the algorithm and make it fun for you.
Mm.
So there's always this trade-off. I guess if you want a fun online experience, if you want relevant TikTok content, you have to give up your data, or the app is not going to work.
Mm. And that's the paradox, isn't it? So you give away your data and get a more, I suppose, personalised experience, but then uh, someone knows more about you than you maybe know about yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And what we try, with our tools and with our quiz maker, as you said, their quizzes are great for lead generation. But what we always tell people is make sure you have consent. Like, don't use our tool, and when we give you everything
Yep.
to make it so that you can get consent, but use our tool to let people know what you're doing. And if someone takes a quiz and wants to fill out a form and wants more information and personalized content, have them tick a box to say it's okay.
Yep.
And I think data collected with consent is valuable for both sides,
Mm.
because it allows you to get better information afterwards. And obviously, if you collect data from your customers that is given with consent, it's much more valuable than unconsentful, potentially fake data.
Yeah. So in other words, you're getting data that's got is more credible if you actually are asking for consent.
Yeah, that's always been my mantra. It's like, always ask for consent and make sure to tell people what you're doing with the data,
Okay.
and then you have good data.
Yep. There seems to be quite a divide between European attitude to data and the North American attitude to data. Google and Facebook, and Google used to say, do no evil, but it seems to have forgotten that quite quickly over the last few years, and is using content. It's actually stealing content, positioning it as its own in snippets, for example, on Google search, and not driving any traffic back to the content creator. And for me as a content creator, I am a little annoyed, especially when they say, well, you haven't obeyed the rules, so we'll give you a small penalty for whatever reason, which happens from time to time. And you're going, so you're stealing my data, not telling me, and yet you're penalising me and not giving me anything in return. So it's not a two-way collaboration, because so. And this leads into the other things in terms of personalisation, stealing of data. Is someone said the other day, I think we've reached peak pixel, which is that the amount of pixels that can be used to actually personalise data without your consent is maybe at its peak and is now going to be reduced over time as regulation creeps in globally. And in Australia here, we're putting in place some rules for Google and Facebook. You've got to start paying the content creators for the content that you're actually using to make money off. And they're going, oh, no, we add so much value that that's not necessary. And going, oh, that's great. So it's okay for you to make money and destroy mainstream media, and while you sell fake news and make money out of it. So, yeah. I think we're at a very interesting time in the whole social media platforms, digital platforms. What's your take on that whole sort of place at the moment?
So, I mean, yeah, there's two questions in there. One for the pixels. It's astonishing, how many trackers, many new, a lot of news sites, but websites in general place. I don't know if you've used it, but I started using Brave as a browser exclusively.
Brave.
Brave, it's a wonderful browser because by default it blocks all the trackers and it shows you how many trackers want to be loaded.
Wow.
And you can choose to load them. It's astonishing. It's not uncommon for a site to load up to 60 pixels in trackers without consent. Absolutely crazy. And I applaud Australia for what they're doing, protecting the content creators. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yes, it will be.
But yeah, I'm a firm believer that if you create content, you should be paid for it. Copyright is there for a reason. It's a lot of work to create good content.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be just reused and stolen without your consent.
Yeah. Look, I used to thought Google was great, but I've certainly lost my trust in them and credibility. And, I don't know how much content we've created, but it's something around about 3 or 4 million words. We've got tens of thousands of sites linked to us, and yet Google's trying to actually stop them getting to us to give us some of what we call, I suppose, content love. But they're very happy to use it in a snippet that doesn't even attribute unless you look at the bottom, and doesn't drive any traffic. So, yeah, we're at a very interesting time, and I'm trying to make sense of it myself. But the reality is, you've got to work out how to play the game so you can still, both add value to the community and to the world and to your tribe, and do it in a credible way. So, tell us about Riddle. So Riddle is an interactive platform that allows you to generate leads. I may be making it simpler than it is. Can you tell me more about what Riddle is? Riddle.com, which is a great name.
Thank you. Good summary. Well, we offer a content creation tool. You can create 16 different types of interactive content, like quizzes, personality tests, little games, that all have the ability to add a lead form at the end before the results are shown.
Yep.
You don't have to do it. You can make the lead form optional, skippable. It's used by fairly big companies like the BBC, NFL, Red Bull, lots of pro soccer teams like Arsenal, Man City, Olympique Marseille, but also by smaller bloggers, consultants, just a really wide range of customers. And a lot of them use it either to drive engagement. For example, BBC Children, obviously they wouldn't generate leads. They couldn't. They're targeting children.
Right.
So their mandate is time on site, giving the kids something to do, being educational. So they're using our platform for highly educational games, supporting homeschooling with online content. And others are using it really successfully to drive leads. We know, again, we only know because people tell us. We don't track this. So, for example, the Chicago Bulls tell us that when they add a lead form to one of their quizzes to get newsletter subscribers, that they generate up to 35 or 36% of the people that finish the quiz fill out the lead form.
Right.
And they compare it to maybe 1.5% to 2% people filling out a pop-up form that pops up while you're surfing the site. And it makes a lot of sense. And if I'm reading an article and I scroll down and then a form pops up, subscribe to my newsletter, that's highly annoying. The article up to that point would have to be absolutely amazing that I stop reading and sign up for a newsletter. I don't think I've ever done that, to be honest. Well, in a quiz, first of all, you take that quiz not for someone else, you take it for yourself. Like, you want to know, it's like, do I really know like the 1990 Chicago Bulls, or random trivia facts. Do I know which color matches my style? If you take a personality test, it's for myself, not for someone else. So there's a good reason to do it. And then you're in the mode of filling out questions and answering. And then at the end, there's a form, which again, I hope everybody makes optional and skippable. But if that has some relevancy and promises me to give me more in-depth information, then I'll fill out the form. So you get much higher opt-in rates, given willingly. And if you ask people for consent to combine the quiz data with that form, you have a very valuable lead, not just a lead. You can actually segment that. You know people that score really high in your sports quiz, they're super fans, and you could offer them a different set of merchandise, for example, than someone that scores really, really low and may not be a super fan of your team.
Yep. So that leads to, which is one of the questions I had as you were talking about that and about your interactive marketing and quizzes, is that you can, so what you do with the quizzes and everything else is that you can create really segmented lists.
Yeah, segmented lists, and I think also get people to give information that is much more relevant. Let me give you a good example that doesn't involve lead gen, but it was a female magazine, it's an online site. They were asked by a car dealer, by a car company, what car should we best advertise on your site? Is your readership into electric cars, SUVs, minis, sports cars? The traditional way to find out is to just get a survey company to call up your readership and then get them on the phone and, hey, what kind of car do you like to drive? And at that point of time, I'm not thinking about cars. I'm, making dinner. I'm thinking about something completely different. I just want to get rid of the guy. So I give an answer or I hang up. But the answers aren't going to be accurate.
No.
So we solved it with a test. We actually used the popular "What color is your personality?" test theme. It worked really well with their audience. And question 8, we said, hey, there's a black limo driving to town. What do you think? And the answer options were, well, a bunch of college kids blowing out money, or superstar visiting our town. It had really nothing to do with that test result, what color matches your style, but it would put car and color into one question. So now in your mind, you're thinking about car and color unconsciously. The next question is, you win the lottery, which of these 4 cars would you buy? Right? And then that's the relevant one. So now you show them the 4 pictures that your client's interested in. At that time, they're not thinking, oh, this is a survey question. They want to find out, what cars to advertise. You may be thinking, oh, what does that have to do with my personality? But everything else has been so relevant. You think about it and you give an honest answer. Because again, you want to find out what color matches your style. That's what you do in this test. Right? So the magazine got a very honest answer, which type of car their readership liked. And then you continue on with the questions and give the readers an accurate result about their color. So they're happy about it and they share the test. And you get even more people taking it without paying for it, which is a nice added bonus.
It is.
So that's how I think of how you can use quizzes and personality tests to segment and to do consumer research in an ethical, nice, and accurate way.
Yep. Yeah, I think about how many cold calls I get from people ringing me up, and typically I don't answer them unless to tell them to put me on the no-call list.
Yep.
So, or else I just pick it up and hang up just to get rid of them because I'm in the middle of a podcast. Not that that's happened at the moment, but so, and the other interesting thing about what you're doing too is that you are not, the quizzes are relevant for both B2C companies and B2B companies, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. Actually, there are also what we see quizzes used for a lot, especially during the pandemic and lockdown, is also just inside a company to stage little games between departments, keep people entertained, engaged. Happens a lot. But you can also use them as product finders and, guides, so to speak, in a B2B market to help people decide what they should purchase, what may be a matching consulting plan that someone's offering. So you see them a lot also used in professional environments. It's just very hard to make them fun in that environment.
I could totally identify with that. So, do you have like a guide that you use for people to, is it ebook or something like that that you have that?
Mike and I wrote a book called Quizmaster.
No, it's
You
good.
can,
Yeah.
yeah, it teaches you how to write personality tests and quizzes. And you can get that for free on our website as an ebook, riddle.com/blog, and then just search for the book, or it's listed in every article on our blog. You can also buy it on Amazon, but you don't have to.
Okay. So maybe we can get that link to that and put it in the show notes, and
I will send you that link. Yeah.
that would be awesome because I don't mind a good YouTube video, but the trouble is I've got to go through an hour of YouTube video or something like that to get to the detail because I'm quite a fast reader. So I could read, transcript for 1 hour of YouTube in maybe 4 or 5 minutes. And get what I want out of it, whereas opposed to I've got to listen to this for the entire hour. Anyway, that's my way I consume media. Some people just prefer watching a YouTube video. And the other thing too, I do like podcasts. I should because I'm doing one. But the trouble with a podcast is I've got to listen to an hour of that to get the pithy insights that could be revealed quickly in a transcript, which we do as well. And that's the part I really love about podcasting is it's 3 types of media: audio, video, and text. So yeah, it's fascinating being a content creator, giving people choices, I suppose. But I think having the Quizmaster ebook from your site would be absolutely some gold to share with our users so they can actually learn how to use quizzes from your site to generate leads, segment their audience into lists as well. So, yeah.
We also ship out hard copies to anyone who purchases a plan on our site. So
okay, cool.
You get an email from us and you can request a free hard copy to be shipped. Which actually is really hard during COVID. You won't believe how many countries don't have mail services operating in the world.
Really?
Yes, we're really surprised how many books we get back because certain countries don't have mail services running.
Right, okay.
We even, during the height of the pandemic, we got books back from South Africa, India, a bunch of Latin American countries.
Yep.
Where there was no postal service operating.
Wow.
I couldn't imagine a world without mail. It would be difficult.
Well, we still need to move physical products around, don't we, really? So,
yeah.
We're all trying to work out this new paradigm of remote work, how to look after employees, how to work remotely, continue that engagement and keep community. It's fascinating times, really. So what other areas, so lead gen, segmentation, making data collection fun, and also doing it with authority are maybe 3 things that you do. What are maybe the top 3 or 4 or 5 things that you think people should, use Riddle.com for? If you said, okay, so you're going to use Riddle.com, why should I?
So the first thing is create, content that you can use on lots of portions of your site that drive engagement, like a little poll, get a reaction from someone. Yep. We have some content types that you can create within seconds. We call it a reaction poll. Place that underneath an article and get people to use a little slider telling you if they like that piece of content. Mm-hmm. That's one thing you can get out of it very quickly. And I think it's very useful, for any article that you spend hours writing, to get a quick sentiment if people like it
Yep.
or not. Secondly, if you know how to handle leads and what to do with leads, definitely start using quizzes for lead generation. I think a lot of people love the fact that they can generate leads, but then they don't know what to do with it. So you also need to know what to do with leads and how to follow up and feed them into MailChimp, Aweber, or any other emailing tool that you're using that we connect to. And then also just get people to share and come back to your site because they love the content. So little games, we have tools to create games like Where's Waldo, that just keep people entertained. They're not hard to create, but they can be so much fun. And we also have, right now only for English speakers, but we have a feature called an auto quiz or quiz generator, where we have a database of over 10,000 trivia questions with different categories. And you can automatically generate a quiz that updates every day if you like, or every hour, but every day is more fun. And have readers come back to your site every day to a new set of 10 questions and take a quiz there. And, these things just get people come back to your site. That's what quizzes and interactive content is really good for. And they're not hard to write. The most successful pieces, personality tests, they're unfortunately not easy to do.
No.
It's not because of the platform. The platform's easy to use, but you need to know how to write them. And that's where you kind of need to read the book, and then we'll tell you how to write them. And understand, psychological models to make them accurate. Because personality tests only work if they deliver good results.
Well, I think that's a good place to finish up on, because get everyone to actually download Quizmaster, learn how to create interactive content that allows people to generate leads, both for B2C and B2B, and make it fun. And and as you know, sometimes it's hard to make content fun. So thank you very much, Boris, for sharing your insights. And what an interesting journey from being the 28th largest website in the world in 2003, 2004, and managing the whole sort of minefield of algorithms and changes that have happened since then. And it's hats off to you and Mike for actually doing so well. And if they want to contact you, my readers and listeners and viewers, because we have a Jeff Bullis Show YouTube channel as well, what's the best way to contact you guys if you want to sort of get stuck into creating interactive quiz for your marketing lead gen?
There's actually a really easy way. Just head over to our website, riddle.com, and there's a chat box that pops up. And if you use the chat box, you're not going to get an outsourced support team. You're actually going to get Mike or myself answering all the support questions. That's been really the fuel for our growth so far, is that we have really, really good support by the founders, by the lead engineers, to everyone.
Okay.
And Mike and I have a little battle going. Whoever answers the most question wins a beer during the week. And I have to say, Mike is probably on the verge of becoming an alcoholic because he always wins.
That's what I was about to raise. So is that really a good game?
Well, yeah, it's one beer a week, so it's fine.
One beer a week. Okay, well, that's you ain't going to get an alcoholic on that, I can tell you right now.
But Mike, people have been calling him a bot so many times because he's so fast to reply. It's incredibly hard to beat him to be first.
Okay.
But yeah, please use our chat. Talk to Mike, or just say, hey, I want to speak to Boris, and then Mike will nudge me and will give me a chance to respond to you.
Look, that sounds fabulous, and I look forward to that. But when do you sleep?
Late at night. So there is times during the day in Europe, or during the night in Europe, when we're just not online, and you get a nice little human message saying we need to catch up on our beauty sleep.
Okay.
But we still think it's better than an automated bot or a support team that can't really help you. It's sometimes better to keep you waiting for 8 hours until we wake up. and then you get a good answer.
Well, I'd rather speak to Boris than speak to a bot. So there you go. Because I think we're moving to a world where people are going, content created by a human or chatting to a human is going to be a premium, and that's going to be an interesting conversation in 10 years to see where we're up to.
Most people are surprised. They're not even expecting answers anymore from these chat boxes.
No, exactly. Well, thank you, Boris, for your time. It's great to hear your story. The master of the interactive quiz marketer in the world. It's been fabulous to hear the story from, well, it's nearly 20 years you've been doing this. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Thank you, Jeff.
and absolute pleasure to have a chat about someone who's been there since the start of the social media revolution and battled the algorithms and battled Facebook and many other demons and dragons. And it's morning for you, so it's time for coffee, not a beer. But you never know, lunch might produce a beer.
We're in Germany after all, right? But no, it's going to be coffee for them.
It's going to be coffee. Okay. Thank you, Boris. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Same here. Thanks for the invite. Thank you, Jeff.